Lacey?
Thank you, Ellen. Hi, guys. We're only going to have time to go through a couple other data tools. I think that, data.census.gov is our main platform, so I'm glad we had time to spend there with a full hour. LEHD, I know there's a lot there as well, but luckily with the recording, and there's some really good webinars as well, so hopefully you got a feel of what's there. Alina's excellent. She knows so much. You can always reach out to her as well, I'm sure, if you have any questions. But she's absolutely right. These tools, we've worked really hard to make them user-friendly, so while we might not have time to go into every single nook and cranny of these different tools, hopefully it's enough where when you go there yourself, when you're back in the office or when you're at home, working through some of these different tools, that they're intuitive enough that you can find what you're looking for. So from our main website here, we're going to go to data and maps, kind of where I hang out most of my time. I know we mentioned some of the basic navigation yesterday, but just as a refresher, all data resources are right here under this tab. We'll come up with our newest and kind of the latest and greatest information. We'll come up to the top of this page. And as you scroll down, you'll see the different tools that we're going to talk about today. We only have about 15 minutes, so I'm going to go through just two of the main data tools and then take any questions that you have. But please remember, we have all those webinars. We have the data gems that we talked about yesterday. I'm here as a resource if you want a workshop, either in person or virtually, for your team or your constituents. So
Lacey,
this is just a quick.
Lacey,
Yes.
I just wanted to let you know that, if you need to go a little bit longer, please feel free.
Okay, I don't want to
what I have at the end is not a whole lot, so that's fine.
Okay. I feel bad. You feel like your 15 minutes that we're finally being quiet, so you can
No.
That's
fine. That's fine.
Okay.
I can wrap mine up in about 5 minutes. So.
Okay, sounds good. Well, that'll give us a little more time to focus on some of the tools here. But I just the two we want to focus on are quick facts. So if you scroll down, you'll see that right here. We're going to look at quick facts, and then we're going to look at Census Business Builder. So the reason I'm choosing these two, again, data.census.gov is really the biggest platform in the game. That's where you're going to find the vast majority of the data from our census and surveys. LEHD has some really cool bells and whistles and brings in some different data sources that we're not going to be able to talk about today. But Quick Facts is a really great place to start if you just need some basic information about your area or comparison to your area and then another. Sometimes we joke about it, but you don't always need to go super in depth. Sometimes you just need a number, right? So Quick Facts is really good at giving you those high points, but still bringing in different surveys. And then Business Builder does the same thing in a much more in-depth way. So since Business Builder has a mapping portion that we'll look at, and does a really good job of pulling from lots of different surveys and censuses that we have, so that you don't have to go around and pull information from all these different places. What I actually love about these two tools as well is they produce a really nice finished product, so you don't have to go make your own charts and graphs and kind of repackage the data that you found. So go to Quick Facts here. You can also Google this. Just make sure you put Census Quick Facts. Sometimes there's pay sites that actually Census Business Builder as well. Just make sure you include the census part, and your search engine should be able to find it for you. But this is Quick Facts, right? It's not too. I'm going to make this a little bigger. It looks simple. It is simple, and that's by design. So again, this is just kind of a high-level overview of an area. So you'll see in this top left corner, you can either choose your state, county, city, town, or a zip code. Just to keep it simple, I'm going to go with Arizona. When you start typing, it should populate. Luckily, it did. I actually did this yesterday, and it didn't populate for me. I actually do know how to spell Arizona, so I was a little confused on that. But you can either, we've got Arizona City, which is a CDP in Arizona, or the state of Arizona. When you click here, you'll see it pops up and now has two columns. So the first column is state of Arizona, and the United States is the comparison. I love that this always has the US as a baseline. One of the things that drives me crazy is seeing a number, especially if it's a percentage. It's great to know how many people in an area are living in poverty. It is a lot more useful to understand how that is compared to the rest of the country. So the United States is always there as a baseline to start. You can exit out if you just don't want to kind of muddy the waters with what you're presenting to somebody you're looking at. But you could also add another geography here if you want. So basic information, and what's great too is it tells you where these data sources are, and it's already included. So if you want to hand this off, you won't have any problems there. So from the population estimates, you've got your basic population information. Then we have age and sex, race, Hispanic origin, population characteristics, some really high-level housing data, information about family and living arrangements, computer and internet use, which is one that is just, we get a lot of questions about that now. It's a very hot topic. Information on education, health, the economy, and then transportation. So again, this is not going to give you this, really huge overview or a lot of information about an area, but especially if you're just trying to get a basic understanding or really even understand what might be more interesting to kind of dig deeper into. This is a really great starting point. That's actually where I use it most often, is if I'm going to say a new town or a new city, I'll start with quick facts and look at things that are outliers or very different from, the United States, and then I'll go explore, whatever that kind of topic is. So if it's the economy, we'll explore it that way. Back up top, this can be a little confusing. I get a lot of questions about this. If you choose a fact here, it's just going to highlight the fact for you. So this is a drop-down menu of all of the facts that are already included in this table. That can be great if you're trying to highlight this for someone else, or if there's something that you really want to bring attention to, but it's not actually going to change. It can be a little not intuitive, right? It looks like it's going to change to a different table or something like that. That's not the case. It's just going to highlight the thing that you choose. So let's just show you how that looks. So see how that's highlighted in blue now. The table is already here. You can choose a map. You guys know what Arizona looks like, but if you are looking for, say, a city that's new to you or you're not super familiar with, this will give you a basic reference map. To start over, you just clear, and then if you want to add more columns, you just click here and it will do that for you. This is really basic, like I said. I mean, we're going to go through this quickly, but there's not a whole lot, hopefully, to stumble through here. Does anyone have any questions, though? Because I do want to spend more time on Census Business Builder. It's a little more complex of a tool. I can't see the chat, so if anybody, Barb, if you see anything, let me know. Going once.
I sure will, but I don't see anything.
Okay, perfect. That means it's totally understood. Love it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to just our home page again to walk you through the navigation one more time. Under data and maps, you're going to go down to view all data sources. I'm sorry, all data resources. And again, we're going to scroll down, and now we're going to look at Census Business Builder. I hope that many of you are familiar with this tool. It's one of my favorite. It was created by a colleague of ours who recently retired after threatening to retire for a long time, and I didn't think he ever actually would. So Andy Haight, this was his brainchild, and what it was originally created for was it was for people that were looking to either start or grow and expand a business. So there's two versions of it. You'll see here. The Small Business Edition will require you to choose an industry and one geography. So you'll choose, say, restaurants, all drive-through restaurants, and then you can choose a geography. So you could pick a zip code, you could pick a city, a county, you could even choose a state if you wanted to. And then it'll give you the report and all the mapping. We found out really quickly that this tool was being used by a lot of people for a lot of different reasons because it does such a good job of combining data from different places and making a really nice report. So they came up with a second version, and this is the one you'll see on the right, the Regional Analyst Edition. The main difference here is that you don't choose an industry. It will still have a lot of economic information built into it, but it's not specific to one industry. And the coolest thing about this tool is it's the only one that we have that lets you combine geographies. So if you want to, say you're a council of governments and you cover multiple counties and you want data for all of your counties combined, this tool will aggregate it for you. This has saved me personally so much time and energy not having to do all the calculations, and especially if you're dealing with margins of error and things like that. This is the only tool that we have that does that for you, so you can combine zip codes, you can combine census tracts, you can combine cities, you can combine states, you can combine any geographies you want, and we're going to walk through the mapping portion, and I'll show you the report as well, but it does all that math for you and produces a really nice final product. The call I get these very most, actually, I digress. I do want to point out here, we've got a lot of really good supporting documents to go with this tool. I think this is one of the ways this tool really excels. So if you get stuck most of the places you get stuck, there's a flyer or there's a FAQ. And then also when we have new releases, every now and then there's an issue or a bug in the system. If you feel like you're beating your head against the wall wondering why, come back and check out the known issues and comments, because usually they're listed there. So you'll know it's not you. It probably won't fix the problem, but you'll at least know you're not uniquely struggling. You're struggling with everyone else. The phone call I get the most is how do you actually get to these sites? We added these little select to launch. I feel like we should have strobe lights on them or something, but you just click on these icons. These function very, very similarly. So if you wanted to pick an industry, the small business builder, small business edition, you won't have any problem toggling between the two. But for the regional analyst edition, because it's my favorite and I think it has some things that'll be really useful to this group, you can choose your find by location option. I'm just outside of Austin, Texas, in Travis County. This is also a really easy way to find out what census tract you live in. We don't have that lookup anymore. Like American Fact Finder would tell you if you pulled up your address, all of the geographies within which an address falls. This gets close. So it won't have your block, it won't have your block group, but it has most of the geographies that people will use. If you happen to be in an MSA, that will be listed as well, then your county, your state, most of you will know what state that you're in, and then census tract and the zip code. Because you guys are not here with me in Austin, why is it not clicking off? Oh man, I jinxed it. Luckily, I actually kind of expected, because every time I go, there we go. I feel like every time I go live, this doesn't work. So I do have reports pulled just in case. But if you want to type in an area that you are looking for, so we're going to start with Maricopa. I'm a terrible, terrible, terrible speller. I just had it, M-A-R-I, there we go. So this will take us to the mapping section, and it always defaults to population, which is, in my opinion, kind of the most boring data point that we have built into this tool. You guys know that it is a more populated county than some of the surrounding areas. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. What it'll show you here is, again, we're looking at all sectors of the economy. It will tell you whatever geography you're currently looking at. And then here's where you can populate this map with all of the different data points that will end up on the report. And I want to highlight that. Every single one of these data points that you can choose from here will be on the, I think it's 12 or 13 page report that I'm going to show you in just a minute. So this mapping is just another way to look at one data point at a time, or you could actually do two to visualize it. But regardless of what you choose, regardless of what you map, all of these will be available when you download the map. So under consumers and residents, this is information from our American Community Survey. While it says consumers, it's really just residents. It's anybody that lives in the area. We have a demographic, socioeconomic, and housing characteristics. We have business information, quarterly information, workforce information, building permits. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. That data point can be a little confusing, I feel like, the way that's presented in this report. Consumer spending. This is actually something we do in conjunction with Esri. I should have mentioned too that this platform is built on Esri's ArcGIS. The consumer spending is not data from the Census Bureau, but it's really cool. So it's credit card spending information, and you can see how much your neighbors are spending on dog food or alcohol or clothing or education or health. And especially if you're doing an analysis of the community, it's a really nice addition to have. You can bring in CRE data, and then also you can bring in your own variables here. So for those of you who may not have a GIS software or want to bring in your own data from some other source, you can do that. There's a one-pager back on that landing page that's actually really good. I'm going to walk you through it step by step. It's awesome to not have to buy some of these packages and just kind of insert your own data if you have something that you want to include. Just make sure the geographies line up so that it's that you're comparing apples to apples. Just as a quick demonstration of how this tool works, we're going to look at the percentage of people in poverty. I'll select the variable, and it's going to repopulate the map accordingly. We're looking at county levels. Again, we don't have a lot of time here, but this gets more and more interesting if, say, you're looking at all census tracts within an area or all zip codes within an area. And all of that is built into, especially for the resident data, is built into this tool. For some of the economic data, so for establishments and some of the quarterly workforce information, we aren't able to publish that lower than the county level, and sometimes even there, depending on how large the county is, we struggle to be able to publish some of those data points. But it doesn't always necessarily matter. We'll still have all the information about building permits. We'll still have the information about the residents in the area. So you might have some blank spaces, but for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to stick to counties just so that you can see it in its full fabulousness. So here we are. We have Maricopa County. It is surrounded in this really sporadic red outline. But what's awesome about this tool, as I mentioned, is if you want to add other counties or any other geography, you can. So you just click over here on edit, and then you click on whatever other geographies you want to add. Click add to my region. And see how it popped up over here. Prescott area where we just were. So we added that. And then when you're finished, you can add, I always blank on how many different geographies you can add here, but it's a bunch. The one thing I'll caution you on, not because you shouldn't do it, I just want everyone to understand that if you combine a county and say a city that overlap, the data in those overlapping areas will be duplicated, and that's fine as long as you know that. But just in theory, sometimes it's easier to keep mutually exclusive geographies. It's a little cleaner. You can use this however you want. Just know, I just want you to know what you're looking at with the report. Okay, so for here we have 3 counties. If we want to look at a report for all 3 of these counties, we just click on Done Editing, and this will create your regional report. The region is highlighted here in red. The bluish tealish color here is the one that is highlighted. Oh. Guys, everyone can mute. Sorry, I hear somebody talking. But if you want to change the individual to one geography, you can do that as well. So I'll go back here to the Phoenix area.
Lacey, there's 2 questions in chat.
Okay, go ahead.
One is, can one modify the outline, width, and color?
You can modify the color of the map over here with some of the configurations. I don't believe that there is a way to modify the outline, but you can change the color scheme and you can change the breakdown. But I don't believe I've ever seen that you can change the actual outline. And what was the other one?
How current is the CBB data?
We're going to walk through that actually when we go through the report. So each section has what the source is, and we'll talk about where those come from. And luckily, it's all built into the report, and there's links to everything, so you won't have to remember anything I say when you go home and produce your own report. All of that's built into it as well. So if you want a report for the entire region, you'll click on Create Region Report. If you want a report for just a single geography that you have highlighted in blue, you'll click on, sorry, my camera's behind it, just Create Report here. For this purpose today, I'm going to try Create Region Report because it's live. I'm not positive it'll work. It feels like it never does, but I've got one already up in case it doesn't. The very first of all, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. All of this is free, publicly available, or I should say you've already paid for it, so you can use this in any capacity that you feel is appropriate. I think there's 12 or 13 pages. If it so happens that some of these pages don't apply to you, you can remove them, you can omit them. If you want to include them all, you can. So this can be used at your own discretion, and it looks really official. It's something that is easy to hand off to somebody else. And again, because it has all of the definitions and all of the data sources built into each data set, it makes it very easy to turn over to somebody else without having to do your own explanations. I don't have the patience to wait for this, and I do want to make sure Alan has at least a few minutes to wrap up. So I will pull up the report that I had ready just in case. This is just for Maricopa County, but this is what the report looks like. The other one is probably going to populate while we're sitting here waiting, but this is what it looks like. The first page will tell you what area is covered, what your customers mean, what businesses like mine mean, and what consumer spending means. And then it just breaks it down very similar to how you could populate the map. So consumer residents, you have the changes over time and how this area compares to to your region, to the US, and to Arizona. You can change any of these charts and graphs on the side. So if there's something you really want to highlight, let's say that you're going to open a bar and you want to know the population that's 21 and over, you can see how that's changed over time. So we've got 70.6% up to 72.2 now. And you can see how it compares to the region as well. Just the region in the US. just remember, whatever you choose here, you can change this as many times as you want, but when you download it, it's not going to go back to the default. It's going to keep the charts and graphs for whatever you've chosen. So here, you see the methodology for each of these different data sets. There's also on that homepage, it'll tell you about the currency of the data, but for every single page here, because we're pulling from a lot of different places, there's a methodology report that you can hand off to someone, or if you can't sleep one night, these are great ways to try to get your sleep without taking Benadryl, but it will give you as much detail as you could possibly want about these data sources. Next up, also from the American Community Survey, and here it'll tell you what years we're looking at. So 2011, 2015, and then 2016 through 2020, and we're looking at the 5-year estimates. This is information about socioeconomic characteristics of households and humans. So let's change it to percentage of people in poverty. Okay, and here's some good news. So the percentage of people living in poverty went from 17% down to 12.7, and you can also see how that compares to the state. And in this case, the region is just Maricopa County, because I couldn't get the other thing to download. Next up, housing owner. This is wrong. I noticed it earlier. I don't understand. There's some glitch here. I'm sure it's listed under the known issues. But let's look at, say, vacancy rate. The vacancy rate has fallen. So we went from 13.5 down to 9.6. And you can also see how that compares to the rest of the country and the region. Business summary. Again, now if you did the small business edition, this would be focusing specifically on the industry that you chose, but this is going to give you an overview. I think for most purposes, this is at least a good starting point, but you have information about employer establishments, average payroll per employee, population per employer, which is just us proving that we can do division, and then employment per employers, and then total annual payroll. So again, you can change the charts and graphs as you feel appropriate. Here we go here if you want to see establishments changed over time. Business revenue, this one is not populating. It has not populated for me for a while. I'm not sure exactly why. It's probably listed under that known issues. This is the one page that's not working for us today. Revenue per non-employer, so this is the same data, but for non-employer businesses. Again, year to year, and then comparisons to the US and the state. Here's your workforce information, very similar in a lot of ways to what Arlene was just talking about. You'll see down here that this is from LEHD, so hopefully it's not brand new information. I won't spend much time on it, but this is built into this as well. So again, it's just pulling from a lot of different places, creating a really cool report and data set for you. Quarterly business. Here's your building permits. Really quickly, especially if you're using the small business edition and you're focused on a specific industry, this really confused me for a very long time. Say you were looking at restaurants and then you're looking at building permits. For me, it looks like there's 25,526 building permits for restaurants. That is not what this is. It does say that here. These are not related to the industry selected, but it still confuses people. So I always like to highlight that. This is just all buildings that were permitted in that area. Here's business comparison. We had some questions yesterday about minority-owned businesses. There's 2 different areas here. This is focused on makes codes, so you can see what different industries people are working in and some basic information about those industries. Here we have information, again, we're proving we can do division for you, but it is nice to have the ratios. Here's your business ownership. This is not the most detailed data we have, but this will give you a high-level, overview. We don't have the breakdown here. It's not something we were able to publish, but you can look at least across the top for all sectors, the percentage of people that are within different minorities, and basic information about the owners of businesses. And last but not least, this is the data that we get in conjunction with Esri. So your consumer spending, which really can tell you a lot about how people are living and where there might be needs or where there might be opportunities. So certainly last but not least, and it's a really cool thing that's built in. There's a lot to scroll through here. I don't have time to go through it, but just a nice addition. It's one of the few places that's really nicely condensed, so you can get a really good overview from all these different places. I am officially 3 minutes over. Are there any questions in the chat, or does anyone have any voice questions? Again, I know this is quick. Under Census Academy, there are some very in-depth webinars. I think there's one that I did last year. There's also going to be live, anytime there's a new release, we'll have those options as well. And if you get stuck, you can always call me or send me an email.
Yes, there is a question. It says, how does one access detailed business ownership data?
So your best bet for getting into really detailed information, these two tools make a nice high-level overview, is going to be through data.census.gov. So that would be my focus there. I'm happy to walk you through it. We don't have time today, but if you want to send me an email, I can walk you through what data is available. But for getting into those really specific questions, data.census.gov is your best bet.
And I have no hands raised.
All righty then. Okay, well, Alan, you still have 11 minutes. And that makes me feel good. I didn't want to run you off too fast, but thank you so much for having all of us. We've really enjoyed this conference, and I've enjoyed the opportunity to get to know you all a little bit and look forward to working with you in the future.
Yes, thank you, and thank you to all of our presenters today. I just really was just going to go over some basic information about our state data center program. Um, for those folks, we had a lot more folks this year, I think, and I know most of the people are not members of the Arizona State Data Center. And I just wanted to just give a brief kind of look at what the State Data Center is. And I was going to kind of go through our activities. However, I want to make sure that we, end on time. So I would, every year, I do a State of the Arizona State Data Center document, and you can find that document on our website, um, as well as if you go back to the Eventbrite access page on Eventbrite. I also have those documents available there for download, um, along with the this meeting's evaluation document. I failed to mention that at the beginning, but some of you got it in the email as well. If you feel that you want to fill that out and send that in to us, we will be using those to help inform our meetings, in the future, of how we can improve how we present this to you. But just basically, I just wanted to let those folks who aren't familiar with the State Data Center program. The State Data Center program is a partnership program, sort of like a co-op, with the United States Census Bureau. It was started back in 1978. And I'm pleased to say that Arizona was, I believe, the second state to join that program back in 1978. And the lady who was in my position was uh, had been the state data center coordinator for 27 years when I took over in 2005. Unfortunately, she did pass away in 2006. Um, Her name was Betty Jeffries, and she, like I said, she basically pioneered the program here in Arizona from the beginning up until I started in 2005. Um, the State Data Center program is um, basically what happened there was that the Census Bureau saw a need to be able to disseminate their information. And of course, back in those days, they didn't have, we didn't have computers, especially, personal computers in the homes and things like that. So a lot of their information you had to get directly from the Census Bureau. And as part of what the Census Bureau does, this was a way for them to get the disseminate the Census Bureau data out into the states. So eventually, over time, I believe by 1988, all 50 states had had state data centers. It took some time um, over that 10 or so years for states to join and to be able to help disseminate that state data center information. And the state data centers are basically created within each state. They created a network of membership or affiliates that would help in that dissemination. And our state, I know at one time we had up to maybe 40 um, different agencies. Now we're down to about 22, but that was probably since the beginning of the program. So we've been pretty good about having our affiliates, and the affiliates are generally those offices and agencies um, that are kind of equipped to be able to help people um, with their U.S. Census Bureau data needs. And so we have out on our website a listing of the entities that we have within our network, and all of those people are dedicated to helping their constituents and any folks that contact them to connect to either myself or the Census Bureau directly. Um, and that's why we have this meeting every year. Normally, the last few years, it's been either in September or October. And so this is an opportunity for us to bring the Census Bureau experts to our state for our members, but not only our members, but all of the data users throughout our state. And this year, as we work with our parent agency, the Arizona Commerce Authority, we were able to work with our marketing team, we call them Marcom, and they did an excellent job of getting the word out, and that's how a lot of folks were able to know that we were having the meeting and were able to sign on. I have a listing of mainly my member networks, but they have a lot of other entities that they work with throughout the state of Arizona for a myriad of different things dealing with business. The Arizona Commerce Authority is basically it's a private public agency that um, is basically promotes the interests of Arizona, and whether it be business or in different industries. And w- within the Arizona Commerce Authority is the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity, which houses the state demographer's office, our workforce teams, and our labor market information teams, which is we call it LMI, which is our our economic side of our office. And so that is what we try to do every year. And it's important for you to know that we are here. Um, my office, which works out of the Arizona State Demographer's Office, we are primarily, our function is population statistics, and we produce Arizona State estimates annually, and we produce also Arizona State projections every 3 years. And so that's my primary function, me dealing with demographic data. I would probably, if you had a lot of business questions, would probably have you talk to the folks in our LMI office, as we don't, we primarily work with just population data. So I wanted to take this time to thank all of you and to let you know that again we're here to help. Uh, help you accomplish the work that you're doing, and that please feel free to contact me if you have any questions or need to, want to be able to, get in contact with folks at the Census Bureau. We do that through our data, through the U.S. Census Bureau Data Users Branch, of which you've heard some folks in the meetings yesterday and today. Barbara LaFleur and Devin Reed are with the we call Dub, are with Dub, and we work with them. And all state data centers will be working with them to help get folks connected and to help answer questions that people may have about Census Bureau data and Census Bureau programs. So again, thank you all. We're coming up to 11:30, and I wanted to make sure that we got out on time again. It, if you have any questions or need any further updates from our office, please feel free to contact me, and I will be working on getting all of the information that we've had in this last 2 days, the recordings and the presentations, the PDFs, up on our website. And again, thank you all very much for attending, and I hope that this information has been very helpful to you.
Alan, there
Yes.
is one more comment.
Okay.
The Arizona State Data Center Network loves the Arizona Commerce Authority. Excellent partnership to help small businesses that start and grow in Arizona.
That's fantastic. That's
And
that's
then
what
Yeah,
that's
we
what
love
we're
you
here.
guys.
That's what we're here to do. Is
and then
to
there's the thank you Allens are coming in. So
okay. So thank you all, and I will let you go. It's 11:30. So thank you all again, and we hope to see you again next year for our next meeting.